Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Discuss the latest news, just fans giving their views. This channel is red. They see the bar and raise it, plus they rep for the ladies. Trust it's red. Female voices in football. Red. If you want to talk up, it's a red channel for me and you. Subscribe and tune into the Ladies in Red.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Ladies in Red, back with another special show, special guest today as well. As you can see on the screen, obviously I'll do my introductions very shortly. Firstly, Natalie unfortunately will not be with us this season. She's not very well, but she'll be back with us next week. So I'm just going to put that out there, sending our love to Nat. Nat, hope you feel better soon. But yeah, let's get into it. A great panel tonight. Of course, I'll start with a regular. Maze, thank you so much for joining me again. How are you doing, mate?
Thanks for having me on, Soph. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'll be better when it's Friday, but we're getting there. We're midway through the week, so we've got to stay positive about that one. And of course, we've got lovely Amy joining us today. Thank you so much, Amy, for jumping on Ladies in Red. Appreciate it. A debut for you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing well. Look, there's loads to talk about in terms of United, and it's not all good, as usual. There's a lot of rumours going around to certain players, but nothing is over the line yet. And I think I want to start with the rivals. I think we have to talk about it. City getting Haaland, Liverpool getting Núñez. I mean, Maze, I'll start with you on this one, but does that worry you as a United fan, or why aren't we acting quicker with these deals? Because we see it so often, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's typical United, isn't it? We're always waiting ages for signings. The signings who are mostly linked to Man United, they're not even gonna come. And you look at them, for instance, like Donny, who came several seasons ago. You'd never heard much links about him. He ends up coming. I do think though that we should be acting a lot quicker, especially knowing how it is at the moment with Manchester United and Ten Hag as well. He will want to build this team ready for pre-season. He even said, I want to come 2 weeks early to get the players in shape for pre-season. So he is going to look at taking that quite seriously. I look at, for instance, Haaland. I think it's a great option for Man City, but I didn't see anything but Manchester City getting Haaland, to be honest, especially knowing that was where his dad played for as well. So Núñez was a bit of a shock one for Liverpool. I know he was linked to Man United, but I think I was probably one of the only people who didn't want Núñez at Manchester United for several of his qualities, because I do watch quite a lot of the Portuguese league, and his kind of qualities for me didn't suit Manchester United, and his flaws, I think knowing that he would be straight in if Ronaldo got injured, it wouldn't work well. So yeah. I think he's got a good manager in Klopp who's able to get them kind of flaws out of Núñez, because he's still only very young. He's got players around him like Salah and Jota who's able to develop him well. So I think in terms of the players in itself, it's great options, but worrying for Man United because it's just getting us further and further down because you've got other teams developing around us.
Very worrying. Of course, our name is always battered around. I don't actually think we were in talks with Núñez. I don't believe that for a second. But yeah, him going to Liverpool. I mean, what did make me laugh was a quote to Klopp when we saw Pogba, and he said, "If the day that we sign a player for 100 million, then I'll quit my job," or something like that. Didn't he? He said, like, "I'm no longer a manager." Like, and he goes and spends 100 million on Núñez, who, if you mentioned there, is a very young player. It is a risky deal, isn't it? But obviously, he is one of the highest prospects you'd say in the world right now in terms of attacking options out there. But yeah, 100 million. I mean, that's apparently what it's going to round about to with the add-ons and whatnot. I mean, Amy, firstly, what's your thoughts on Núñez going to Liverpool? And also, as a United fan, are you worried about the pace that our transfer business is being done at?
Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm completely honest with you, it doesn't really shock me. I remember I said to myself when we had that whole saga with Sancho, I said to myself, I'm not going to read too much about it. And when we sign someone, then get excited. So to be honest with you, I haven't really been like keeping tracks of it. I just like scroll Twitter and I'm like, oh, that'll never happen. So yeah, I don't think this season's going to change. I would have thought like with Ten Hag, I would have expected, because he's so used to like building teams from scratch. I sort of thought like he would join and he wouldn't take the Glazers like ineptitude to do anything. But I don't know. I don't. To be honest with you, I really don't have faith that we're going to sign anyone. We will sign somebody, but we're not at the level of Liverpool or Man City signing these big names. Nunes, to be honest with you, I don't really know enough about him to get everything together. I don't really know much about him. Whereas with Haaland, I've watched a lot of football with Haaland in. So out of them both, he definitely does worry me. But Nunes, not so much. But I think Haaland's just a beast. I think I actually think he's just going to be like, I don't think it's going to take him time to like settle into the Premier League. I think he's just going to like literally just be banging in like 20 plus goals first season, to be honest. Yeah.
It feels that way with Haaland, like he's going to naturally step in. We've said for ages, City need that striker, that goal scorer. Since Aguero, like obviously they struggled with that, and he definitely fits the bill, doesn't he? Firstly, big up to Saeed. Thank you so much for tuning in, Saeed. Make sure you go and subscribe to his channel as well. Absolutely flying and love to see it. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, you have to be worried as a United fan, and you have to be worried, and we have to just hope, and I mean hope in capital letters, hope that there's a plan in the background and Ten Hag is working his magic and that there is a structure in place. But at the moment, all we've seen as fans is De Jong, the odd Eriksen rumour slipping in, Timber and Antony being linked to us as well. Realistically, that's the main transfer targets that we're seeing at the minute. Let's start with De Jong. Obviously, a lot of money's been spoken about. He came out with a quote yesterday. I saw an interview where he's basically said there's no more news about Manchester United. He thinks he's already at the biggest club in the world in Barcelona. And a lot of United fans I know have got their knickers in a twist over that quote, and they're saying, like, we don't want him anymore, then like we're not taking him. I mean, Amy, I'll start with you on that one. Like, do you take offence to that quote from De Jong, or do you just think it's a player just simply answering a question and trying to get the press off his back as soon as possible?
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I think we could possibly get him, but I don't think he's going to come because he wants to play for us. I think he's just going to come for money, to be honest with you. And like obviously I do want him to play because our midfield, it needs sorting. But I don't know. Like I want players who want to play for us. But then again, like we're not the same club as we were like 15 years ago. So. Yeah. You know, we haven't got that pull. We haven't got like Ferguson to be there to like bring the players over. It's if you're not a Man United fan, you'd want to be paid a lot of money to come into this shit. Do you know what I mean? So I get it. I don't dislike him for it. So I kind of understand where he's coming from. But I think ideally he would like to stay at Barcelona, but it's just I don't think it's going to work out for him there.
Yeah, obviously with their financial situation, if he is pushed, then you feel like Manchester United seems to be the destination where he will go if he has to leave. But it is a case of him having to leave, isn't it? I think that situation is going to be an interesting one. Like Lewandowski have been linked, obviously, to Barcelona. If that is a player that they want to take on, then they might have to sacrifice, obviously, someone like De Jong, and that's where we could benefit from it. But it does hurt our feelings a bit because, obviously, we are quite arrogant as United fans. I'm sure we'll openly admit that. And we want players who want to play for the badge. We want players who want to play for us. But as you've said there, Amy, without Champions League football this season, we don't have the same pull. Of course, there's a pull. Ten Hag has to come in, but he has to sell his project, doesn't he, Maze, to the new players coming in. He has to sell what the aim is, where he thinks his club is going. So yeah, De Jong, would you be happy with him, and how confident, should I say, do you think that he will come?
Yeah, I would take De Jong. I think he's a brilliant midfielder. His qualities that he does have, I think it would really work with Manchester United. He even said after the Netherlands interview, he wants to be the midfielder who receives the ball from the defenders. And that is the type of qualities we have wanted in the midfield for so long. And we haven't had that in ages. So to have a player like that, I think would be great. And we know that he does have them qualities of the leader role. But we all know that Frankie de Jong has said Barcelona is his childhood club. And we've always expected De Jong to be there easily 8 years at Barcelona because, you know, he loves the club. I think Barcelona don't particularly want to sell him. I think the only reason why they have to is because they can't authorise Kesse, they can't authorise Christensen, and they can't get Lewandowski without him because they're that much in debt at the moment. So I think it's more of a urgency that they need to get rid of him more than they want to get rid of him, which is why they're quoting it at a set price. I think it's smart in the respect of him being linked to United because we know that Ten Hag knows how to work him, how many minutes he plays, what position is best for him, and having players linked to the club who Ten Hag knows is great. But I'd still take him because he's definitely still an upgrade on to our who we do have at the moment. But I think that we do need to look at other options. We can't put all our eggs in one basket with one player.
You've seen it so often, haven't we, where we've done that, we've clung on, and then we've ended up spending needless money elsewhere because we're panicking at the end of the window. We've seen us do that in the past. Andrew, Says, I do think with the transfer window that the situation isn't quite as bad as believed. United don't routinely announce deals, and that's what I mean. It is still early. We've got to hope that there is some direction and some plans in the background, but it is hard. But we know how far behind we are already. We know how depleted our squad is looking. Seeing teams in and around just doing their business swiftly, it does hurt our feelings a bit as fans, doesn't it? Because I think a lot of us, we saw it as FIFA this window. We've saw it, you know what, as soon as the deadline, as soon as it opens, we need to sign 6 players, 7 players, 10 players, however many it may be. But obviously it's not going to happen like that, and it's not that simple, is it? But we have got to hope that, like you say, all our eggs aren't in one basket. We are looking elsewhere. And talking about elsewhere, someone called Bissouma played at Brighton, 25 million I believe his value was, and Spurs have gone and snapped him up. And I know we've spoke about it, mate, on this channel quite a lot. A player like Bissouma making that step up to United, a player who would be a decent value for us. I'll start with you, mate, on that one. Are you gutted at the fact that he's gone to Spurs, and do you think that's a good deal for them?
Yeah, it's a good deal for Spurs. I think that what they're doing at the moment, they've been brilliant signings. Perisic is another one who they got from Inter Milan. They've got Spence, who's been on loan at Nottingham Forest, also linked. I think it's a great signing. However, with Bissouma, I didn't want him at United because of the personal reasons outside of Brighton. And I think that is the last thing that we need to have, is a player who's already in the press over negative things. Just so it you know what it's like, Manchester United, negative news, it gets spun all over and it gets taken a lot further out of proportion. And for that reason only is the reason why I wanted to avoid Bissouma. But overall, I think he's a great signing for Tottenham, and I think he definitely improves the midfield.
He does 100%. Great signing. Perisic, you mentioned there, very experienced player. Again, great signing, very consistent player. I always find whenever I see Perisic play, he's always one of the standout players on the pitch, and I think that was a niche signing. Conte's done well there, and obviously having Conte in charge as well is also a worry because he's a very good manager. And Soph said there, it is early, but the way Spurs are moving is a big concern. That ace in the pack, and no one was anticipating that. Having him in charge, though, obviously having Conte there, I think has definitely helped them. But Amy, yeah, Bissouma was linked to us quite a lot. Well, I say linked to us. A lot of fans wanted Bissouma because of the price he was valued at. He's played in the Premier League. He laughed at Arsenal, which I think is a big selling point for us United fans and Spurs fans. But yeah, how do you feel about him going to Spurs? Do you think that would be a good move for them? And would you have liked to see him in red?
Well, I'm sort of in the same situation. Same opinion. Sorry, as Maisie. The things, obviously, I don't want to mention it on here, but innocent till proven guilty, or whatever. But I mean, I don't think. Why is he going that cheap though? Like, there must be, like, I'm sorry, but there must be something. There's no way that he's going for 25 million. So I think that's why they've got him on a cheap, basically. Anyone that's involved in that, I wouldn't want at our club anyway. But as a player, yeah, of course I would. I think he's a great player. I think he's been great for Brighton. But yeah, I think there is a reason why he's been so cheap, basically, and it could end up being pretty messy for Tottenham, to be honest with you. So I'm glad that we stayed out of that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure his contract's running down. Maybe Show said there a year left. So obviously his contract is running down, which would add to why his value is the way that it is. But you are right, of course. Like you'd often say, it is a big step up. I don't know about to Spurs, but if you're saying he's coming to like City, Liverpool, can we put Man United in that bracket anymore? I don't even know if we can. But Spurs, obviously, you'd say it is a big step up from Brighton. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on. But Potter definitely has done amazingly well with the squad that he's got there at Brighton. And Bissouma was definitely a standout for them. And I think he could be a very nifty signing. Obviously, the sign Højbjerg, who I think has been a decent signing for them as well. And getting Bissouma, I do think he adds strength to their midfield for sure. Big up to Soph, Maisie and Amy. I'm hoping Henderson goes to Forest because I wouldn't mind signing their goalkeeper Samba. Says Eagle Eye, so he wants Samba at Palace. But yeah, mate, Henderson, I've read that today as well. Forest obviously interested in buying him because I believe Samba has rejected his latest contract offer from Nottingham Forest. So yeah, Henderson, a lot of people thought he would be taken over from De Gea. A lot of people felt with Ten Hag coming in, maybe De Gea doesn't suit his style of play. But it seems like De Gea is very much staying, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah, it definitely does seem De Gea is staying. But from what I've read, of course, it's always reports that Ten Hag is giving De Gea this season to give him a chance, because we always know that with Ten Hag, he's a manager who likes distribution in a goalkeeper, which of course that isn't the qualities of De Gea. So from what I've read, he wants to give him that one last chance. And I think that will be the case because there's I think the areas what need to be strengthened. The last thing is the goalkeeper area. So I think that will probably be looked into next season because De Gea is getting older. And I think that Dean Henderson, if he doesn't want to be at the club, he wants the game time. He wants to be number one goalkeeper. And he's not going to get that whilst De Gea is in good form. So
there's a lot of rumours that Henderson was involved in the leaks as well, wasn't there? Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not confirming that because I don't know, but I know he was involved in a lot of rumours.
Yeah, also included in the rumours. So we need to get them kind of. If you don't want to be at the club and there's other allegations being made against you, you can't be at the club. You need players who want to play, and there's a lot of better goalkeepers out there in the transfer market than there is of Dean Henderson staying. You look at, for instance, Oblak from Atletico Madrid. You look at the AC Milan goalkeeper. Them two goalkeepers, I'd take in a heartbeat. So there's a lot better options for me than keeping Dean Henderson.
And I think for his own personal benefit as well, obviously the World Cup is coming up in the winter. He's obviously going to miss out on that, but he's got to be thinking out the age he's at. He needs to be fighting to be getting into that England squad on a regular basis, and there's a lot of competition. And quite frankly, if he isn't playing regularly, he's not going to stand a chance, is he? So I think he has to think about his personal stance as well. I mean, Amy, where do you stand with Dean Henderson? Do you think he's good enough to be our number one, or do you think a move would be good for him? Or maybe even a loan, someone suggested in the chat. Again.
I mean, I think when he was at Sheffield and he proved he is good enough to be a Premier League goalkeeper. I've never questioned his ability, but, you know, unfortunately for him, we have got a world-class keeper already. Yeah, fair enough. There is issues with distribution and everything. I get that, but, you know, you've got to sort of outweigh the pros and the cons, and De Gea has been fantastic for us. So I'm happy for him to stay. Personally, I think he's getting overpaid for a goalkeeper, but that's no fault of his own. That's the board and, you know, the wage structure and everything. And I think there is better keepers than De Gea as well. But yeah. I think certainly, I think if Dean Henderson wants to leave this season for his own personal reasons, that doesn't really bother me. And De Gea wants to do another season, as long as you replace him with someone decent, which we've always been all right with keepers, really. I think we will. So it doesn't really bother me either way, really. I think it's for his own. I don't think he's going to get ahead of De Gea anyway, simply because they spend that much money on him anyway. Like, they're not going to just not play him. So yeah, I think he'll end up leaving, but I don't have any hard feelings towards him. I think it's sometimes you just got to think about your career, and he is, what is he, 24 now, and he's not. Apart from being at loan, he's not really been a starter, apart from when he was at Sheffield. So, yeah, I get it. I think it's probably in the best interests of the club and him to leave now.
Yeah, and I'd be sad because I've always thought, you know what, Henderson, I've really liked him as a person, seeing him with the away fans and stuff like that. Like, I love that. Thinking, obviously, he's played for the youth and whatnot. I'm thinking he can progress up. He went on loan and had a great loan deal, like you said. And I think a lot of us thought he'd come back and kind of steamroll. But De Gea, in all fairness to him, after that Europa League final loss, he came back stronger. After being outed by Spain and not really, you know what I mean? He came back stronger, and you have to give him credit for that. And the distribution is always a worry with De Gea, definitely. But I'm just hoping that Ten Hag can obviously develop that, because we know he's very good at developing players. De Gea is a great shot stopper. Look how many points he saved us last season. And I think it is one of them where maybe for another year or so, De Gea will be number one. And Henderson, realistically, at this point in his career, can he wait for another year? You'd probably think, no, he wants to be playing regular football. So it is an interesting one. Najib, thank you so much. You said, we've been losing so many players without replacement. Herrera, Pogba, Matic, Lingard, Mata, maybe Greenwood and Martial. How can we sign all the replacements? Love the show here in Nigeria. Firstly, thank you so much for tuning in from Nigeria. I love to hear stuff like that. Thank you. And yeah, it is a big concern. We've already said how depleted our squad is looking, how many players we are possibly losing, who we've already lost as well. And one of the players actually I'm going to talk about, you mentioned Pogba there, rumours are he's going back to Juventus. Maisie, were you expecting that deal? Because obviously at first the rumours came out of him going to City, and I was thinking, do not do it, Pogba, do not do it. I'm kind of relieved that he's going to Juventus. I don't know about you, but I feel a bit of relief in that.
To be honest, I'm not surprised he's gone Juventus. We've heard rumours for ages he wants to go Juventus or PSG. I think Man City was just a load of crap, really, but in terms of Juventus, I'm really not surprised, but it's just, for me, another player who's on high wage bills. He's been there 5 years, 16 different injuries in 5 years, only played 8 games in the 2019-20 season. You look at them kind of factors for the price you paid him at, the amount of wages he's on. You need to get rid of them type of players, and that's obviously including other players who's gone out on the free. So I think best thing for Manchester United to get rid of him, and that's all I can really say about Pogba, to be honest. Can't hear you, so.
That was weird. Why did my mic mute then? I don't know what that happened. Weird. I'm back. With Pogba, definitely pulled that fan stain twice. I mean, Amy, I've never spoke to you regarding Pogba. I don't know what your opinion is on Paul Pogba. He definitely splits opinions, but he's one of them players where on his day he was an entertainer. I wouldn't say I was gutted to see him leave because he frustrated the hell out of me, because I could probably count on one hand how many top quality games Paul Pogba had at United, which is the frustrating element of it, isn't it? And I know he was at United for a torrid time as well, and you have to obviously accept that. But the fact that we've lost him on a free again is pretty gutting. But yeah, what's your thoughts on his move to Juventus as well? Do you think, did you expect that?
I just think he makes really odd decisions, to be honest with you. I think, I don't know, I think he should have left. I mean, what is he, 28, 29 now? I think he should have left United before, if he wasn't happy. I don't know. I think he can be good on his day, but in my opinion, like a world-class player is someone who's consistent. So I wouldn't put him in the world-class category. I think he's a very, very good player. And he started off the season pretty well. When he had quite a few assists in very little games right at the beginning of the season before it went all shit. But yeah, whatever. But it's just so bad. I don't know. I don't know why he's going to Juventus. I think he's got some weird thing where he has to go back to his old clubs, sentimental value or something. I don't know. I think he would have been better suited to PSG, to be honest with you. But
a lot of people did see the PSG move coming. Real Madrid was the one that I thought. To be honest, I thought he's going to Real Madrid. But then obviously there's so too many. We've got Camavinga there now. Their midfield is just ridiculous for years to come. They're just going to dominate because it's just crazy. So yeah, Juventus, it was definitely, I wasn't expecting him to go back, I'll be totally honest. I could see the City move happening, which gutted me because I thought he's just going to tarnish everything and go to Man City, but I'm glad that hasn't happened. As I said there, Pogba was world class, but not in the Premier League because it just didn't suit him. And he thinks De Jong will be exactly the same, which is why I don't want him at the club. It's a very interesting observation, but definitely coming back to the Premier League, it didn't work out for Paul Pogba. And we mentioned earlier the best interest for the club and the player, and I think him leaving obviously was that. Because for France, we've seen what he can do. But just for United, it just didn't happen. Dujour said, would love to see the youngsters get a chance. For example, Hannibal, Garnacho, Atire, Ahmad Pellistri, Laird, Mengi and McNeil, etc. Yeah, Garnacho is another one as well. Obviously, that is about at the minute. First, thank you so much, Dujour, for that super chat. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, some of the young players have been listed there, but are there any in particular that you think we'll see a bit more of next season with Ten Hag in charge? And I know that's a really hard question because some might go on loan and we don't know yet. Who would you like to see under Ten Hag develop a bit more?
I think the majority of them, what have been mentioned, will probably go back on loan. I think Hannibal will definitely one who will be staying. I think Ghana will be staying if, for instance, the Forest loan goes ahead, because a team can't loan to the same players. So, so I think he will probably stay and be used as potentially a backup. And I think another player, Garnacho, will be staying, especially knowing that reading from Fabrizio is that he's signing a 5-year deal at Man United because there was different teams who are wanting to sign him, and Man United is getting a proper professional contract from him. So I think that he will be definitely one who will be on Ten Hag's list.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are also mentioning about Brandon Williams as another potential backup. He had a great season there at Norwich, but despite him, of course, going down. And I think that he's also got some good qualities. So I think I'd even have him as a backup because I play him out any day over these fullbacks we do have, I must be honest.
Interesting. What's your thoughts on Brandon Williams, Amy? Do you think he's got a spot next season in, not I was going to say in the starting lineup, but in the squad? Do you see Brandon Williams coming back? Yeah,
I do actually. I don't mind him. I think he got a lot of hate, but he's only young. It's difficult position to be playing in, really. Especially, he won't really he's not really a well-built lad. Well, he wasn't anyway. Especially in his first season in the first team. So I think he got a lot of hate, but. Yeah, I think he's not first team quality yet, but yeah, I think he's a good player. I'm happy for him to come back, to be honest with you. I don't know why he got so much hate. I think a lot of the fans need to sort of like uplift the youngsters rather than just putting them down every opportunity, because, you know, very rarely that a player is. Look at Luke Shaw, how inconsistent, how long it took him, and he had that really good season and then he kind of went crap again. Do you know what I mean? Like, someone that young, they're not going to be perfect and not going to be the most intelligent in the positions and stuff, but yeah, I'm happy for him to come back. And, you know, like, I think he wants too bad under Ollie, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Brandon Williams, I think it's one of them where I really like his traits. I like his characteristics. He obviously fights for the badge. He scraps. Sometimes he's a bit too rash, but you know what? Raphael and players like that, we always had that Heinzer. Players who would leave a foot in and players who had that bit of a nash. Like last season, I feel like we really lacked that. Too many players, I think, were throwing their arms in the air and just strolling around. And I know you can't play for United just based on effort and like fight for the badge. You need a bit of talent to go alongside that. And I do think he is still very raw. Obviously, at Norwich, it was okay at Norwich, but it was a struggling team. Like you said, they got relegated. It wasn't a very good season for them. A lot of backs against the wall defending. They conceded quite a lot of goals as well. So for him, I think it might be a case where maybe another loan would suit him for a season. Maybe a Premier League loan as well, so we can get a different perspective of him. But then again, having said what I've just said, like I said, at the end of this season, I was just saying, you know what, sell the lot. I'd much rather see someone like Brandon Williams, who might not have the quality on the ball, but at least they'll show a bit of passion and a bit of fight than anybody that we saw a fullback last. You know what I mean? Like last season, that's how frustrated I felt. So I think it's two ways of looking at it. Realistically, we should have, if I'm being hand on heart honest, we should have a better quality fullback than Brandon Williams playing for Manchester United. But we're not the club that we were before, as Amy's already touched on. And I think we kind of have to settle for what we have at the minute, especially after the signings that we aren't making. It might be that we do have to turn to a few of these kids. And if that is the case, we don't sign obviously a fullback, then I think it'll be a case where Brandon Williams might come back next season and feature a bit more. But I don't think that's the kind of quality we should have as a fullback. And I think that would be my verdict on him. I don't dislike him. No hate for the kid. I never have hated the kid. I always think he tries the right things when he's on the pitch. I always think he's positive. And like I say, you can tell he loves the club and he fights for the badge. But as we know, you can't just have that if you want to be a top team. But we didn't have that from a lot of players last season. We had a lot of strolling, a lot of arm waving, and a lot of complaining. And that's why actually I think it would be a bit refreshing to see someone like Brandon Williams just come and actually fly against Liverpool, just go and snap someone. That's what we want to see as a United fan. Just go and do it. And I don't think we saw that last season. There was too much respect paid, and I don't think Williams has that. So yeah, I'm very mixed on it. I think if he came back, should he be starting for us? No. But I think his characteristics and what he can bring, I think we'll see. But I do think a loan would be good for him in the Premier League, so we can just get another perspective, because that Norwich team wasn't a good team for him really to play in last season. Another player obviously who's come back from loan is Donny van der Beek. Under Ralph, a lot of people felt he would have been a lot better. But obviously under Ten Hag, he's played under him before. He went to Everton, got injured a bit. It was a bit unfortunate, really. His loan spell wasn't really what we expected it to be. And again, in a struggling Everton team as well, we have to take that into account. But Donny van der Beek, Amy, where do you sit with him? Because obviously we signed him, everyone was absolutely buzzing. United fans week in, week out, screaming, pulling their hair out. Why is he not getting a chance? We've signed him, why is he not getting a chance? Went to Everton, and unfortunately for him, he's had his injuries and whatnot, and it hasn't really clicked from there. But his old manager's coming back to United. It does feel like he's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet, doesn't it? But do you see that way with Van der Beek? Where do you stand with him?
I think, to be honest with you, I think last season, I think his confidence has dropped so much. But I think towards the end of the season, he was probably what we need a little bit more with Bruno not being in form, and just someone who can retain the ball, just someone who keeps it simple. Like Bruno's always. And by the way, when I'm a big fan of Bruno, and I don't like people. He's just had an off season, but like that first season he was there, it was absolutely fantastic for us, and he's a great player, but he just needs to keep it simple. It's like but whereas Ten Hag's football, like he does prefer his number 10s to keep it simple rather than sort of play the way that Bruno does, a bit more freely. So I think if he doesn't have a chance under Ten Hag, then unfortunately there's no place for him in the team. But I don't know. It's like if Bruno's in form, Donny van der Beek's not going to get looked at. Yeah, but
unless he's played more of like an 8 rather than a 10, and we have got a disciplined CDM in there with them, which we don't really have at the minute.
That is true, actually, because he did actually play more games at Ajax as a CDM, but I just don't think he's got the physicality for Premier League to play in that position.
Yeah. He's an interesting one, Van der Beek, because obviously we've seen what he did at Ajax. we had so much expectations for him, and unfortunately, at the moment, it just hasn't worked out for him. And I'm just hoping with Ten Hag coming back this season, we'll give him that little confidence boost that he maybe does need, and he can get a few games, and get a few goals under his belt, and hopefully then he'll find his feet and he will go from strength to strength, because there's definitely a quality player in there. You don't just turn a bad player overnight, but sometimes it does take players like a few seasons to settle in, and I think Donny is obviously one of them players, isn't he? But Mace Van der Beek next season, do you think surely he's got to feature more than he did last season, I say that. But yeah, where this, do you think he'll be one of the key players, or do you agree with what Amy said there, where if Bruno's on form, Donny will always be kind of second in pecking order?
I agree with Amy completely. I think Bruno Fernandes is a key player for us. I think we need to build, in my opinion, we need to build a team around Bruno Fernandes, who has signed a long-term deal with us and is wanting to be at the club. And we know Bruno Fernandes thrives when the wingers are on form and the striker is on form. So when the players around him are on form, he thrives. So if we get the likes of Sancho coming in great, his Borussia Dortmund form next season, and we get Antony coming in, for instance, who's on form, Ronaldo is banging in his goals, I think that's when Bruno will start thriving again. And I think Donny probably won't get a look in my opinion. I think with Donny this season, it is a make or break season. I've said about Donny is, I think he's been a lot better coming on as a substitute than a starting 11 player, because when he does play as a starting 11 player, it just seems that he is rusty a little bit, but when he comes on as a substitute, he's on fire. And I expect, to be honest, I even looked at him in terms of Lampard and thought, even though he had his injuries, when Donny's been on the bench, he's chose to play Dele Alli off the bench over Donny. And little things like that, I look at things like that and think, how can Donny not get off the bench on some games against this Everton team? So I think this season in particular is going to be a make or break season. And if Ten Hag does not use him, I think that is going to raise a lot of questions.
Yeah, it is because it seems like the perfect fit for him. There's no more excuses, really, you'd say, if his old manager's literally there as well. It's a fresh start, clean slate for him and for everybody, really. So yeah, you'd think that Donny really has to nail it this season. He has to be at it. But it's an interesting one. I just want to say this very quickly, guys. If you check out on Twitter, you can enter to win a pair of tickets to the England ladies game against Netherlands on the 24th of June at Ellen Road. And that's as a partnership with Xbox and England. So please go and make sure, if you're interested, go and check that out, and you can win a pair of tickets, and that'll be announced in due course as well. But I just have to get in there while I think about it. But yeah, I think Donny is an interesting one. Obviously, we have been linked to another midfielder, Eriksen. Personally, I think that move makes sense. I know a lot of people on Twitter have atted me and said that they feel like it's too many midfielders, not the kind of midfielder that we need. He has had time at Ajax, so he does know Ten Hag. Obviously, he's on a free. He's come back to the Premier League. He was quality at Brentford when he came back. Really showed he was levels. I would take him, Mace, and it might be controversial to a few people in chat, but Eriksen, and I'm not saying he's the only midfielder I would get. I still think we need that CDM, that defensive motivated midfielder, but I do think Eriksen would definitely add a bit more quality to our squad, and he seems right for the dressing room as well. He always seems a good guy to have around, doesn't he?
Yeah, I would definitely take Eriksen. I think him on and off the pitch is something what we do need in this Manchester United team. In a kind of respect in how he is a bit like Juan Mata, in the terms of he's such a gentleman, and I think that he'd be a good influence for the younger players, a great role model for the younger players. I think that he is brilliant with fans. We've seen it, how great he is with the fans. And we've seen that he's Premier League proven. He's done it at both Spurs, and he has done it also at Brentford. So Eriksen, for me, he literally, I'd say he walks into this midfield as it stands. He really does. And you know that he can play on different positions. He can play an 8 and a 10. So even if we play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, he can go anywhere.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think from set pieces and stuff like that as well, it would give you so much more quality. Someone said there that they feel like he's going to Spurs. Show said that I feel like he's going to Spurs. Spurs, obviously, you'd think if Spurs did come in for him, then he'd be tempted to go back. Obviously, they gave him a great reception when they played against Brentford last season as well. But yeah, I just feel like with the links to Ajax, obviously he went to train there, wasn't he? He was allowed to train there after he was recovering. yeah, I just feel like it makes sense. It makes sense, but when do we do what makes sense as a club? And I think that's what I'll throw it there as well. So I don't think, I don't know, Spurs, it probably will end up at Spurs, but I do think he would be a good addition to our midfield and to our squad. But we'll see what happens. Amy, your screen is black, so if you are there, what are your thoughts?
My phone's just running out of battery. I'm just
bless you.
Charger. I won't be a minute.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I don't know if you can still hear me. I was like, I don't know, I'm talking to Amy here or just nothingness. So I thought I'd just try. But yeah, Eriksen, I think I'll take him. Timber is another one who's been linked with us, but that's kind of fizzled out now. I felt that was going to be the first deal, I'll be honest, that we're going to get over the line, and then it's kind of fizzled and it's not really talked about. Pau Torres is another one that we've been linked to as well. Centre-back, do you think that's high on our priority list? Like, should it be? Given the Harry Maguire situation, Lindelof, we've got Varane who's been injured a lot. We've still got Boye, we've got Phil Jones. We've got so many centre-backs that surely we need to get rid of a few.
Yeah, we definitely do need to get rid of some centre-backs. From what I've heard, Tuanzebe and Baye's out the door. They have got no future, so there's two out straight away. I think we definitely do need a centre-back because our back four we haven't had a proper back four this season because of injuries and people being out of form. So we still always need to have a centre-back there, even if it's going to be a backup. For me, I think that it's not our main priority because for me, it's the midfield and the right back. They're the two main priorities for me, and I'd be pulling this hair out if I don't get a right back. I really will be pulling this hair out. But I do think once we get a midfielder, we do need to properly secure a right back. I know Timber's been linked, and the good thing with Timber is that he can play in the right back role as well. So you know that if, for instance, Varane is on form and then Lindelof's on form or Maguire, then we know that Timber can play on the right hand side, on the right centre, right back. So I think that he would be the smartest move. I know, as you mentioned, Paul Torres is linked to United, and I don't think that's a good move, in my opinion, anyway. Just because he's a bit as a slower type of centre back for me. He's slow like Lindelof and Maguire, that kind of pace, and we need a more faster type defenders because Varane really is the only quick defender that we have who gets played.
What frustrates me as well, if you look at like Liverpool, for example, and City signed Diaz, a player that we were linked with, and just look at him now. And then also Liverpool go and sign Konate, and him and Van Dijk have formed a great partnership. I mean, Konate was an absolute beast for Liverpool last season. Their signings seem to just hit. I mean, Buzz at the minute, we miss. Do you know what I mean? And I'm hoping that we can find that centre back, that one who we think, you know what, he's going to suit us perfectly. Chelsea are obviously searching, and they're trying to get a centre back as well. And it'd be interesting to see what happens because I think CDM obviously is a position that we keep saying definitely need. But I agree with you, right back is needed. But I do also think with Maguire at centre back, like a lot of people think we're going to sell him. I don't think we'll sell him. But his captaincy is definitely a risk, I feel, after what happened last season. Like, I mean, the worst season at United in however long. Like, surely his captaincy has to be questioned. And I read the other day, apparently he's fighting for that captaincy. He wants to keep it, which of course you would, but who would your ideal captain be, mate? I'm going to throw that one out there. And in the chat as well, let me know your ideal captain for next season. And again, it's hard. You might sign the perfect person, but yeah, Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno, without a doubt for me. I think he's one of the only players who actually does show leadership roles for me. He's got as well captaincy experience. He was actually the captain of Sporting, and he led Sporting to trophies also. So, you look at how Manchester United was before Bruno. We was lacking creative, and he comes in, he gets us third place, and then he gets us second. Yeah. And I think he's an outstanding player. You can tell he's one of the players who does want to play for the badge. I know a lot of people will say Ronaldo, and the only reason why I couldn't say Ronaldo is that you look at Ronaldo and think, right, he's going to be here one more season, and then he's gone. And for me, you need a captain who's going to be secure. There's no point in changing your captaincy around all the time. I think if you're going to have a plan, you need to have a plan in keeping this captain long term, unless there's obviously the player leaves in the long run, or if, for instance, that there's a reason why they need to be taken out.
Yeah. Ronaldo captain for a season until someone else stands out as a captain. Ronaldo is a solid striker for us. Maisie's choice of Bruno didn't go on show. What happened on Richie's show, Maise?
Well, basically, a lot of people disagreed that they wanted Bruno. So we had different people on. So we had Harry wanted De Gea, I wanted Bruno, Reece wanted Varane, and then G Wolf wanted Ronaldo. So it was a bit of a debate on who we wanted, and then we had to disagree on why we wouldn't have, for instance, like Harry said De Gea, and I'd have to say my reasons why I didn't want De Gea.
Yeah.
And in the end, we put it into a poll in the chat, and I think Bruno got voted the least.
Oh, no.
It did. And I put a proper
Ronaldo voted higher than Bruno.
Ronaldo got over 50%, and then De Gea got like over 30%, and then Bruno got something like 8 or 5%.
Wow, that's shot me. To be fair. I think if I had to choose, I'd go Ronaldo or Bruno. To be honest, I think I can see why De Gea has it as well, but Ronaldo or Bruno would probably be my two choices. But saying that, Bruno did annoy me last season with the throwing the arms around and the sulking, and I get that's why a lot of people probably voted against him, because they're thinking about his tantrums that he had last season. If you're captain, you can't be doing that. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of understand that. But Ronaldo would probably be the one that I would give for a season, and then we'll see after that. Really, see who we sign. See, because on the Ten Hag as well, like, we've got a lot of youth that are coming through and stuff. We haven't really got a majorly experienced team, you'd think, with the young players coming through. And if we're going to sign young players as well, who are going to be new to the league and whatnot, it's going to be interesting to see who would get the captaincy after that. Raz says, God, not Bruno. Medeza said, I'd go for Bruno, De Gea, and give Pogba a chance of captain. What? Pogba at United? That ain't going to happen. Unless you mean at Juventus, that could happen. But yeah, Pogba, I don't think Pogba's captain material anywhere, if I'm honest. So even then, to be fair, in the France squad, his speech and stuff before the World Cup final and stuff was pretty cool, to be fair. But yeah, Ronaldo for me. Ronaldo, I think, would be my ultimate choice. If United want a right winger, they can always sign me, £500 a week, bargain, and I'm only 54 years old. You know what? I bet you still work hard than a lot of people do in the squad at the minute. I'm not naming any names, that's why I said people. But yeah, age is just a number. That's what I keep saying to myself. I'm 30 soon, and I keep saying age is just a number. It's just a number. So 54 means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. But let's turn it. Someone just said, yeah. And thank you, Alex, for that. On about my shirt, obviously representing England, the Lionesses, of course. But let's talk about England for a second. And England, I mean, Gareth Southgate. A lot of people yesterday on Twitter, a massive meltdown for, obviously we lost 4-0 to Hungary. And I know we're having a little talk off camera about it, just Mays and whatnot. But do you think that before a World Cup, realistically, can you see us sacking Southgate after getting us to the final of the Euros? Honestly.
I really don't. I think that they're going to give Southgate the chance in the World Cup, especially knowing what he done in the Euros. I know a lot of people is saying that he had an easy run in the Euros, but he still beat Germany, who's a great team. And sometimes you've got to beat some of the best in the tournament to get to the final, and that's exactly what Southgate done. I know his style of play isn't pretty. I'm not saying that he's a great. He plays brilliant football, but the way he plays, it works in tournaments at times. I definitely don't think he's going to get sacked though. I think that if he gets humiliated in the World Cup, he is a goner. He'll get sacked. But you look at it and think, a manager who's brought England to a final, the first final since the World Cup 1966. Yeah, it's something that we would look and think, wow, this is such a great achievement. We've got into a final for the first time in so long. So I would give him the chance, especially knowing the qualities that there is in that England squad. And plus as well, Gareth is trying new people out in terms of Jared Bowen, Conor Gallagher. Who's to say if we had a new manager, whoever that could be, they would give them kind of people a chance. And we've seen in the past with previous managers where they've only picked players who are from set teams, and they would play players out of position just because they want to fit them into the team. So I think it's going to be a big, massive risk for me. I personally keep him though.
I just can't see that changing before the world. I just can't see it before a World Cup tournament. I really can't see it because if you think about it, we got to the final of the Euros, which is the best achievement we've had in a long, long time. We were all coming home. Everybody was united. The dressing room just felt, I don't know, I love watching the videos of them in the camp and stuff. You know what I mean? Like everything was just positive. But after the last few results, few performances more so than results, I think it's just been. It feels stale. Feels almost as if like it's gone stale because we didn't win the Euros. It's almost gone a bit flat. And I'm just hoping that Southgate can rejuvenate the squad, because our squad is so talented, and that's the frustrating thing about it. Like, you'd think with a better manager, that squad would be doing so much better, because we've got such talent in there. Seeing players like Grealish on the bench constantly, I'm scratching my head at it. Obviously, the reluctancy to drop Mount, I know he's dropped yesterday, but in general, the reluctancy to drop Mount. Like, there has been many baffling decisions, definitely, but I think a lot of people have got short memories to that time when we're all singing It's Coming Home. And we had Italy in the final of the Euros. Luke Shaw scored early on to put us in the lead. Like, that feeling that we had, like, we haven't had that for a long time as a nation. Like, we haven't. The amount of times I've been in tears watching England play, and obviously it still ended up that way after what happened, but we got so close. Do you know what I mean? And I agree with you. I think if we get absolutely battered in the World Cup, then that will be the end of it for Southgate. But I don't see any decision happening before that. I just can't see it happening. Shell said it really annoys me how protected Southgate is by the media and the pundits, but he's never going to be sacked before Qatar. Humiliation inevitable. And if it is, if you do get humiliated, like you said there, then surely there's no way back, you'd think, and that would be the final nail in the coffin, if you like, for him. But at the moment, I just can't see it changing. Kiana said it's easy when you win, so folk forget about the bad things. When you lose, the whole thing is an open wound. And also, I know we got battered to Hungary, and it's an embarrassing result and whatnot, and it should never happen, especially at home. And the performances in the other games as well were just shocking. But we have to think of what time of the, and obviously I know every other team as well, it's the same situation, but I think they're just players are just leggy. I think a lot of them are already on the beach in their heads and whatnot. I think tournament football is very, very different, as we saw with us in the Euros, and I'm just hoping that a bit of a rest, and like I say, hopefully Southgate can rejuvenate these players. But I don't think you can take the last few games as gospel as to that's how we are now, that's how we're going to play. I do think that it is end of the season. Some players have played a lot of games for their teams, and I do think that's affected them. But I'm not saying that as an excuse, because other teams have had long seasons as well. Hungary players have played a lot, and I'm not protecting anybody, but I'm just saying I'm not too concerned by the recent results as such, if that makes sense. It's more about the long-term plan for me. And if we don't win the World Cup or do have a good campaign in the World Cup, then obviously I do feel that that'll be it for Southgate. That's it then. But I do think there's a lot of short memories in terms of what he did do in terms of the Euros. And like I said, I'm not justifying it, because that was absolutely dreadful yesterday. I'm glad I didn't go to the Molineux to watch it, because obviously it's not far from me. And I'm glad that I stayed at home, because, yeah, it was woeful. Absolutely woeful. Amy has just dropped me a message, said that she's going to struggle to get back on, bless her. She says she's really, really sorry. But yeah, she's going to basically try and jump on to the next ladies in red. She said she sends her apologies. But Southgate, exactly, his magic might have run out, George. It might have run out. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the World Cup will be where we judge that. I don't think it'll happen prior to that. But we've definitely seen flat. We've seen shocking. The last thing I want to talk about, mate, is the fact that the fixtures are coming out tomorrow. I'm going to ask you, who do you fancy getting first in the season, home or away? I mean, I'm guessing most people would say at home, but who would you like to have in terms of first game of the season for United? And obviously get in the chat and let me know as well. And what your bets are, like, who do you reckon? And see if anybody actually gets it right.
It's a tough one who I'd like, because there's a lot of teams who are doing so well at the moment. It's going to be difficult. I think the ones who I would like to avoid would be, of course, City, Liverpool, and I would avoid Newcastle. I really would. Because Newcastle are going to want to go into a big high. But I think if I was going to pick, I would like Everton. And I'd like Everton away. I think Manchester United, as much as we love the Old Trafford vibe, we've been so much better away over the past couple of years, if you obviously put it out on an average. So I think that going away to Goodison Park, I think that would be a very good test for Manchester United. It'd be a good test for Ten Hag, and I think it's a little bit, not a derby, but it's that little bit of rivalry there, because it's like Liverpool versus Manchester kind of thing. So I think I would really like to take Everton, but from what I've heard, that it's supposed to be Wolves our first game, which will be a tough test.
Yeah, I hate playing Wolves. I think I'd be glad to get one of them fixtures out the way early, though, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I worry that the fixture list will have a bad start for us. That could lead to disaster next season. I want Leeds, says Curlers. I'd like Leeds. Forest, obviously, I think would be an interesting one as well. Who would I want? It's hard to say who I'd want, especially after seeing how we finished last season. I don't want anybody right now. That's how I feel. But it seems like a lot of people are saying it could be Wolves. I wouldn't say I want Wolves, but I think I believe you like that. Actually, Wolves will probably more likely be the one. Leeds, yeah, I think I'd like to start with Leeds again. I think last season, when we started with Leeds and the whole Varane situation. Like, imagine if we could do that again with another player. Obviously, I want to play at home as well. First game of the season with Ten Hag in his new stadium against Leeds. That could be a pretty special atmosphere. Yeah, I don't want anybody. But yeah, Leeds. I think Leeds would be cool. Definitely. Liverpool, and as we mentioned there, get it out the way early. Liverpool at Anfield, done and dusted, first game of the season. I mean, that could be other amazing thing because they haven't quite warmed up yet and we could catch them kind of off guard. Or we haven't warmed up yet and they could just smash us again and just set us off to a bad tone for the rest of the season. So I think that's an interesting one. But I'd probably give it a little bit before we play against Liverpool. So I don't see that on being first. But Leeds I've definitely taken, like you say, it looks like it more than likely will be Wolves. But Mace, it's been an absolutely fantastic show. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. We will try and do one of these weekly, every single Wednesday, if that's the time that suits you. But yeah, I love chatting to you about football. Obviously, international football has been happening. The women's, is it Belgium tomorrow?
Belgium tomorrow, yeah.
So I'm definitely going to be tuning into that. I might go to it, to be fair, because I know it is at Molyneux. So yeah, we'll be doing more content on the ladies as well with the Euros coming up in this summer. But yeah, Mace, thank you so much. Please let people know where they can find your amazing channel, and congratulations to you for getting 1,000 subscribers now as well. Definitely well deserved, and roll on to the next 1,000 and the next 1,000 and the next 1,000 after that. You're doing so well.
Thank you so much, Soph, and thank you again for having me on. It's been a great discussion. You can find me here on my YouTube channel there, Devils United. Manchester United content for men and the women's football. I'll be doing a lot for the Euros for England. So fingers crossed we do good, because I'm actually going to a few games as well. So that'll be interesting.
Nice. I know I'm doing a bit of presenting on Don Robbie. So I might be at a few games as well. So that should be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Be nice to have a bit of relief from the boring England men's team and the United catastrophic season, won't it? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, definitely. Lioness's shirt as well, for those who haven't seen the new one. It's proper smart, to be fair. But yeah, thank you obviously to everyone who's tuned in. If you haven't already, go and make sure you enter the competition on my Twitter right now. I'm giving away 5 pairs to the England versus Netherlands game on Friday the 24th of June at Ellen Road. So go and enter that, and obviously you can take a lucky +1 to go and watch the Lionesses in person. But guys, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. Love as always, and thank you for the super chat as well. Do yours, appreciate that. Guys, if you are new, please hit the subscribe button on Ladies in Red. Make sure you follow Amy as well, who's a fantastic guest, and she will be back on soon as well. And of course, follow myself, Soph Richo. But yeah, subscribe to Ladies in Red, share the video if you can. If I missed you in the chat, just drop a comment afterwards. I'll always reply there. All that's left to say is have a lovely rest of the evening. Watch a Lionesses tomorrow. See some good football being played for a change in England. And yeah, we will see you soon. Look after yourselves and take care.